Commander Hyunwoo Park floated in the control room of the space station called Sentinel's Watch. The station sat far from Earth, hidden behind a dark moon where no one would look. His job was simple but important. He watched for messages from deep space and listened to alien radio signals. Today felt different. The computer made a soft beep. A new message had arrived, but this one was strange. It came from many different places at the same time. The signal was strong and used codes that Hyun-woo had never seen before. He worked for 3 hours to break the code. His fingers moved fast over the keyboard. Sweat formed on his face. Something told him this message was very important. When the words finally appeared on his screen, his blood turned cold. The message came from something called the Galactic Confederation. It was signed by High Chancellor Vexathari and 846 other alien leaders. Every word made Hyunwoo more afraid. All member species of the Galactic Confederation agree. The human race is now labeled as Category Omega Threat. This means total danger to galactic peace. The human species must be removed from all worlds. No human may be allowed to live. This order cannot be changed. All fleets will gather for the final solution. Earth will be destroyed in 6 months. Hyunwoo read the message 5 times. His hands shook. He had always known that other life forms existed in the galaxy. Earth had met some of them before, but he never thought they all hated humans so much. The message listed why humans were too dangerous to live. Humans spread too fast to other worlds. Humans made new weapons too quickly. Humans refused to take something called the Harmony Protocol. This was some kind of device that made all aliens think and act the same way. But the worst part was at the end. The message said that 847 different alien species had voted. Every single one said humans must die. Not one species had voted to let humans live. Hyunwoo sent the message to Earth as fast as he could. Then he sat back in his chair and stared at the stars. Somewhere out there, almost 1,000 different alien races were building ships to kill every human in the galaxy. On Earth, President Da-Yoon Kim was having a normal day until the message arrived. She was in her office drinking coffee when her assistant ran in. The woman's face was white with fear. "Madam President, you need to see this right now," the assistant said. Da-Yoon read the message twice. Then she called for an emergency meeting. Within 1 hour, all the important military leaders were in the war room deep under the capital city. General Tae-ho Lee arrived first. He was a tall man with gray hair who had fought in many wars. Admiral So-young Choi came next. She commanded all of Earth's spaceships. Dr. Jin-A Nam was the last to arrive. She was the best scientist on Earth who studied alien life. "How many ships do they have?" Da-Eun asked Admiral Choi. "We don't know for sure," the Admiral replied. "But if 847 species are working together, they could have millions of ships. We have maybe 500 good fighting ships." General Lee slammed his fist on the table. "We can't fight that many. It's impossible." "Maybe we don't have to fight them all," Dr. Nam said quietly. Everyone looked at her. She was studying data on her tablet. "I've been looking at the alien samples we collected over the years. Something is very strange about every alien species we've ever met." "What do you mean?" President Kim asked. "They're all too similar," Dr. Nam explained. "Their DNA has been changed. Their brains have been changed. It's like someone took away everything that made them different and special. They all think exactly the same way now." "The Harmony Protocol," Admiral Choi said. "The message mentioned it. All aliens have to take it, but humans refused." "That's why they want to kill us," Dr. Nam continued. We're the only species in the galaxy that still thinks for ourselves. We're the only ones who are still truly alive." The room went quiet. President Kim looked at each person around the table. These were Earth's best leaders, and even they looked scared. "What are our options?" she asked. General Lee spoke first. "We can surrender and hope they let some humans live as slaves." "No," Admiral Choi said firmly. "We fight. Even if we lose, we make them pay a heavy price." "There is a third option," Dr. Nam said. "We've been working on secret projects for years. Hidden bases, new weapons, colony ships. If Earth falls, maybe some humans can escape to other parts of the galaxy." President Kim stood up. "Send out Protocol Phoenix to all hidden colonies. Tell them to prepare for war. We have 6 months to get ready." "What is Protocol Phoenix?" General Lee asked. "Our final plan," the president replied. "If Earth is going to die, we'll make sure the galaxy remembers us. We'll fight so hard that no one will ever forget what happens when you try to kill free people." As the meeting ended, each person had jobs to do. Admiral Choi would prepare the space fleet. General Lee would get the army ready to defend Earth. Dr. Nam would work on new weapons and study alien weaknesses. Meanwhile, on the space station, Commander Hyun-woo watched more messages arrive. The alien fleets were gathering at meeting points. Across the galaxy, ships from hundreds of different worlds were joining together. Some of the ships were bigger than entire cities. But Hyun-woo also saw something else. Secret human bases that most people didn't know about were starting to move. Ships hidden in asteroid fields began to power up. Weapons that had been built in secret were being moved to defense positions. Humanity had been preparing for this day without knowing it. For years, they had been building secret defenses and hidden colonies. They had been making new types of weapons and ships. It was like they knew that someday the galaxy would try to destroy them. As Hyun-woo watched the preparations begin, he felt something change inside him. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Anger. These aliens thought humans were dangerous just because humans refused to give up their freedom. They thought humans were monsters just because humans wanted to think for themselves. Well, if the galaxy wanted monsters, maybe it was time to show them what real monsters looked like. If they wanted fire, humanity would give them fire like they had never seen before. The countdown had begun. 6 months until the Extinction fleet arrived. 6 months to prepare for the biggest war in human history. 6 months to prove that freedom was worth fighting for, even if it meant fighting the entire. Galaxy Commander Hyun-woo smiled grimly as he sent his final report to Earth. The message was simple. They're coming for us, but we'll be ready. 3 months had passed since the Extinction Order arrived. Earth was now like a giant factory making weapons and ships. Every person worked day and night to prepare for war. But preparation was not enough. Earth needed information about the enemy. Captain Woo Jin Song stood on the bridge of the ship called Prometheus. It was not like other human ships. This one was built for sneaking around without being seen. It had special paint that made it invisible to most sensors. Its engines were very quiet. Everything about the ship was designed for spy missions. "Captain, we're getting close to the target," said Lieutenant Haya Jin Ko. She was the ship's engineer and one of the smartest people Song had ever met. Her hands moved quickly over the control panel. "How many enemy ships are there?" Song asked. "At least 300, replied Sergeant Min-ho Yoon from his position at the weapons station. Yoon was an old soldier who had fought in the wars near the outer colonies. He had seen many battles and was not easily scared. The Prometheus moved slowly toward the alien staging area. This was where the enemy ships gathered before attacking Earth. Song needed to see how strong they were and what kind of weapons they had. Through the main window, Song saw something that made his stomach feel sick. Hundreds of alien ships floated, in perfect rows. Each ship looked exactly the same as the others. They moved together like they were one big machine instead of many separate ships. "Take us closer," Song ordered, "but stay hidden." The Prometheus crept forward like a mouse sneaking past sleeping cats. Soon they were close enough to see inside some of the alien ships through their windows. What Song saw made him understand why the aliens wanted to destroy humanity. Inside the ships, thousands of alien beings worked at their stations, but they all moved in exactly the same way at exactly the same time. When one alien turned his head, all the others did too. When one made a hand movement, all the others copied it perfectly. "They're not really alive anymore," Lieutenant Ko whispered. "They're like robots made of flesh." "The Harmony Protocol," Song said. "It didn't just make them peaceful. It took away everything that made them individuals." Sergeant Yun pointed at one of the larger ships. "Captain, look at that one. The markings say it belongs to Captain Rethak of the vessel Eternal. Serenity." Song studied the enemy ship. It was 3 times bigger than the Prometheus and covered with weapons, but something was wrong with it. The ship moved too perfectly, turned too smoothly. There was no randomness in its flight pattern. That's their weakness, Song realized. They can't think for themselves anymore. They can only follow patterns and orders. Just then, alarms started ringing on the Prometheus. Red lights flashed everywhere. "Captain, they've found us!" Lieutenant Ko shouted. "3 enemy ships are coming this way fast!" "Battle stations," Song ordered. "Yun, get our weapons ready." The 3 alien ships moved toward the Prometheus in a perfect triangle formation. They fired their weapons at exactly the same time in exactly the same pattern, but Song had been in many space battles. He knew how to think quickly and change plans in the middle of a fight. "Ko, cut power to the left engine," he ordered. "But Captain, that will make us spin out of control. Do it now." Lieutenant Ko cut the power. The Prometheus started spinning wildly through space. The alien ships had been aiming at where the human ship should have been if it kept moving normally. Instead, their weapons hit empty space. "Yun, fire everything we have at the middle ship," Song shouted. Sergeant Yun pressed the firing button. All of the Prometheus weapons shot at once toward the middle alien ship. The enemy ship tried to move, but it could only move in the same perfect pattern it had been programmed to use. The human weapons hit it hard, causing explosions across its hull. The other 2 alien ships immediately moved to help their damaged friend. But they did this in exactly the same way, at exactly the same speed. Song saw the pattern and knew what they would do next. "Ko, can you restart that engine?" he asked. "Yes, but it will take 30 seconds. "We don't have 30 seconds. Yun, prepare to ram the damaged ship." "Captain, that will destroy us too," Yun protested. "Not if we do it right. Ko, I need you to overload our engine core. When I give the signal, eject it toward their ship." Lieutenant Ko understood the plan. She started working frantically to make the engine core into a bomb. The alien ships kept coming closer, firing their weapons in the same boring pattern. "Now!" Song yelled. Ko ejected the overloaded engine core. It flew toward the damaged alien ship and exploded with tremendous force. The blast was so big that it destroyed the damaged ship completely and badly hurt the other 2 ships. But the explosion also damaged the Prometheus. Sparks flew from broken control panels. Smoke filled the air. "Can we make it home?" Song asked. "Maybe." Ko replied, "If we use the emergency engines and don't meet any more enemies." As the Prometheus limped away from the battle area, Song thought about what he had learned. The aliens were very strong and had many ships, but they were also predictable. They could not adapt or change their plans during a fight. This was the information Earth needed. 3 weeks later, Captain Song was back on Earth in a meeting room with President Kim and her top advisors. His uniform was still torn from the battle, and he had a bandage over one eye. "Tell us what you saw," President Kim said. Song described the alien ships and how they all moved together like one big machine. He explained how the enemy could not think creatively during battles. "They're strong, but they can't improvise," Song concluded. "If we can be unpredictable, we might have a chance." Dr. Jin-A Nam was excited by this news. "I've been studying the alien technology we captured from your battle. Captain Song is right. These beings can't adapt because their brains have been modified to only follow predetermined patterns." "What does this mean for our defense plans?" Admiral Choi asked. General Lee answered first. "It means we can't fight them the normal way. We need to be chaotic, unpredictable. We need to do things they won't expect." "I have an idea," Dr. Nam said. "What if we could turn their coordination against them? If they all think the same way, maybe we can confuse all of them at once." President Kim looked at the damaged reports from Song's mission. "How long do we have before they attack?" 3 months, Song replied, "and there are more ships gathering every day. When they come, there will be thousands of them." The room went quiet. Everyone knew that even with their new knowledge about alien weaknesses, the fight would be almost impossible to win. "We'll do what humans have always done," President Kim said finally. "We'll adapt. We'll be creative. We'll fight in ways they never expect. And if we're going to lose, we'll make sure they remember the cost of trying to destroy free people." As the meeting ended, Captain Song looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. Soon, that sky would be filled with enemy ships. But he felt something that surprised him. He wasn't just afraid anymore. He was angry, and he was ready to fight. The galaxy thought it could erase humanity like deleting a computer file. But humans weren't just another obedient species. They were chaos and creativity and the refusal to give up. The aliens were about to learn what that really meant. The day finally came. Admiral So-Young Choi stood on the bridge of the space station called Defiance, watching through the large window as dark shapes appeared at the edge of the solar system. At first, there were just a few dots of light. Then, more appeared. Then hundreds more. "How many ships are there?" she asked her second-in-command. "We count 12,000 enemy vessels, Admiral," came the reply. "They're arranged in perfect formation, moving toward Earth at steady speed." Choi felt her heart sink. Earth's entire space fleet had only 400 ships. Even with all their preparations and new weapons, the numbers were terrible. On the main screen, a face appeared. It was alien, with gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, the words came through a translation device. "I am Supreme Admiral Corthes of the Galactic Confederation Fleet. Humans of Earth, you have been judged dangerous to galactic peace. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your end slow and painful." Admiral Choi stepped forward to reply. "This is Admiral So-Young Choi of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have a message for you, too. If you want our world, come and take it. But know that we will make you pay for every mile of space, every drop of blood." The alien's face showed no emotion. "You have chosen suffering. So be it. The transmission ended. Choi turned to her crew. Send the signal. To all ships, Operation Last Stand begins now. Across the solar system, human ships began to move. They didn't fly in neat formations like the aliens. Instead, they spread out in seemingly random patterns. Some hid behind asteroids. Others used the gravity of planets to slingshot themselves into attack positions. Each ship captain was free to fight however they thought best. The first battle happened near Pluto. Colonel Jun Seo Han commanded a small group of ships defending the outer system. His orders were simple: delay the enemy as long as possible and make them use up ammunition. Han's ships were fast and small compared to the alien vessels. When the enemy fleet approached, Han's pilots began flying in crazy patterns. They swooped and dove between the larger alien ships, firing quickly and then running away. The aliens tried to respond with their usual perfect coordination, but Han's ships kept changing direction at random. Sometimes they attacked from above, sometimes from below, sometimes from the side. The alien gunners couldn't predict where the human ships would be next. "This is impossible," one of Han's pilots radioed. "There are too many of them." "Keep fighting," Han replied. "Every minute we hold them here is another minute for Earth to prepare." The battle went on for 6 hours. Han's small fleet destroyed dozens of alien ships, but they lost half their own vessels. Finally, Han knew they couldn't hold any longer. "All ships execute Ragnarok Protocol," he ordered. This was the code name for humanity's most desperate tactic. Instead of retreating, Han's remaining ships flew straight at the largest alien vessels. Just before impact, the human pilots ejected in escape pods, and their ships exploded like giant bombs. The explosions destroyed several major alien ships and damaged many others, but the cost was heavy. Colonel Han and most of his pilots were captured or killed. The news reached Admiral Choi on the Defiance. "Han's group has been destroyed, but they took out about 200 enemy ships," her communications officer reported. "Good," Choi said quietly. "Now they know we're serious." The alien fleet continued toward Earth, but now they moved more carefully. Supreme Admiral Cortez was confused. He had fought many battles before, but always against enemies who fought in organized, predictable ways. These humans seemed to have no plan at all, yet somehow their chaos was working. The next major battle happened near Mars. Commander Eun-ji Park was in charge of defending the Red Planet and its mining colonies. She had been waiting for days, watching the alien fleet get closer. Mars had been turned into a giant weapons factory during the preparation months. The planet's too small, moons were now covered with missile launchers. Underground tunnels connected huge gun batteries that could pop up from the surface to fire, then hide again. When the alien fleet came within range, Park gave the order to attack. Thousands of missiles shot up from Mars and its moons. The aliens responded with their defense systems, shooting down most of the missiles, but a few got through, causing more damage to their ships. "They're adapting to our missile attacks," Park reported to Admiral Choi. "They're learning to predict our firing patterns." "Then don't use patterns," Choi replied. "You know what to do." Park understood. She ordered her forces to fire missiles at completely random times. Sometimes they shot one missile, sometimes 100. Sometimes they waited long minutes between attacks. Sometimes they fired continuously for hours. This random strategy drove the aliens crazy. They couldn't develop a defense against attacks that had no pattern. Their perfectly coordinated defense systems kept making mistakes because they were designed to fight organized enemies. But the aliens had one big advantage: numbers. Even though the human defenders were fighting cleverly, there were just too many enemy ships. Slowly, the alien fleet pushed past Mars toward Earth. On Earth itself, General Tae-Ho Lee was preparing for ground combat. The aliens had announced they would land troops on the planet to hunt down every remaining human. Lee had spent months turning Earth's cities into death traps for invaders. Every building had been modified. Innocent-looking shops contained hidden weapons. Subway tunnels had been turned into supply routes for human soldiers. Parks and streets were filled with buried explosives that could be triggered remotely. Major Sung-Hwan Kim led one of the ground defense units in the capital city. His soldiers were ordinary people, teachers, mechanics, office workers, who had learned to fight during the preparation months. Remember, Kim told his troops, the aliens think all the same way. They expect us to fight like an organized army, so we won't. We'll fight like angry citizens defending our homes. When the first alien landing ships touched down in the city, they found what looked like an empty, abandoned place. The aliens marched out in perfect formation, their weapons ready. Then the humans struck from everywhere at once. Snipers fired from windows. Explosives went off under alien feet. Human fighters popped out of sewers and attacked, then disappeared again before the aliens could respond. The aliens tried to establish control by taking important buildings like City Hall and the police station. But these buildings had been booby-trapped. When alien troops entered them, walls exploded, floors collapsed, and poisonous gas filled the air. "This is not warfare," the alien ground commander radioed to his superiors. "These humans fight without honor, without rules." "Adapt," Supreme Admiral Corthes ordered. "Use whatever methods are necessary." But the aliens couldn't really adapt. For thousands of years, they had fought only enemies who followed the same rules they did. They didn't know how to fight people who made up new rules every day. Meanwhile, Dr. Jin-A Nam had been studying captured alien technology in her underground laboratory. What she found changed everything. "Admiral Choi," she called urgently over the communication system. "I've discovered something incredible about the aliens." "What is it, Doctor?" "Their genetic code is breaking down. All of them. Every species in their confederation is slowly dying. The Harmony Protocol that makes them all think the same way has also destroyed their ability to evolve and adapt. They're trying to kill us because they're already dead inside." This news spread quickly through the human forces. The aliens weren't just trying to destroy humanity because humans were different. They were trying to kill humans because humans reminded them of what they had lost. The ability to be truly alive. Admiral Choi felt a new determination. "All ships, all ground forces, listen carefully. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the right of every living thing in the galaxy to be different, to choose, to be free. If we lose, the galaxy dies with us. The battle for Earth's..." Orbital space began at dawn. Admiral Choi's fleet rose to meet the alien ships. The human vessels darted between the larger enemy ships like angry bees attacking a bear. Every human captain fought differently, using tactics that surprised even their own allies. Captain Wu Jin Song, now commanding a new ship after the Prometheus, was destroyed, led a group of fighters in a wild attack on the alien command vessel. His ship spun and twisted through space in patterns that made the alien gunners dizzy. "Follow my lead," Song radioed to his wingmen. "We're going to do something that will either be brilliant or get us all killed." Song's ships flew straight at the alien flagship, then at the last second, they split apart and attacked from 6 different directions at once. The alien ship's defenses couldn't track all the different targets. The battle raged for hours. Human ships were destroyed, but they took many alien vessels with them. The space around Earth filled with wreckage from both sides. Finally, Admiral Choi realized that conventional fighting wouldn't be enough. Earth needed its secret weapon, the one that Dr. Nam and scientist Chang Min-baek had been building in hidden facilities. "All ships, retreat to safe distance," she ordered. "Prepare to witness Operation Prometheus." The human fleet pulled back. The aliens, thinking they had won, moved closer to Earth to begin their final bombardment. That was when Earth showed them what real fire looked like. 6 months had passed since the siege of Earth began. The planet looked very different now. Half of the major cities lay in ruins. The beautiful blue oceans were dotted with the wreckage of fallen ships from both sides. Smoke rose from 100 different battlefields, but Earth still fought. In an underground bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Da-Yoon Kim studied reports from around the world. The news was not good. Human casualties were massive. Food was running low. Many of Earth's defensive positions had been overrun by alien forces. "Madam President," General Tae-ho Lee said as he entered the command room. His uniform was torn and dirty from recent fighting. "The aliens have taken control of most of Asia and Africa. Our forces are retreating to prepared positions." Kim looked at the war map on the wall. Red marks showed where the aliens controlled territory. Blue marks showed human positions. There was much more red than blue. "How long can we hold?" she asked. "Maybe 2 more months," Lee replied honestly. "The aliens learn a little more about fighting us every day. They're starting to expect our chaotic tactics." Kim nodded sadly. She had always known this day might come. "Then it's time for the Phoenix Protocol. Is the ship ready?" "Yes, Madam President. Chief Ko has finished all preparations." In a hidden construction facility on the far side of the moon, engineer Hyojin Ko floated in zero gravity, making final checks on humanity's greatest secret project. The ship was called Phoenix Station, and it was unlike anything humans had ever built before. Phoenix Station was enormous, almost as big as a small city. But it wasn't designed for fighting, it was designed for surviving. The ship contained everything humans would need to start over somewhere else in the galaxy: genetic samples from Earth's plants and animals, cultural archives, libraries, and, most importantly, 50,000 volunteer colonists. Captain Bo-Ram Lee would command Phoenix Station. She was young for such an important job, but she had proven herself in several space battles. More importantly, she understood that this ship wasn't just carrying people, it was carrying humanity's future. "All systems are working perfectly," Ko reported to Captain Lee. "We can launch whenever you give the order." "Not yet," Lee replied. "We wait until Earth gives us the final signal." Back on Earth, the situation grew worse each day. Supreme Admiral Korthus had grown frustrated with how long the conquest was taking. He had expected to defeat Earth in a few weeks. Instead, the fighting had dragged on for months, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. "These creatures are insane," he told his staff officers. "They continue fighting even when they know they cannot win." "Perhaps we should use the planet-killer weapons," suggested one of his subordinates. "We could end this quickly." Korthus considered this idea. Planet-killer weapons were terrible devices that could destroy entire worlds. The Galactic Confederation had never needed to use them before because most species surrendered when they realized they were outmatched. "Prepare the planet killers," he ordered. "If the humans want to die on their world, we will grant their wish." On Earth, resistance fighter Sang-Hee Yu led her team through the ruins of what had once been Seoul. Her group specialized in hit-and-run attacks against alien supply convoys. They had been fighting almost non-stop for months. "How many aliens did we get today?" asked one of her soldiers. "About 50, Yu replied. "But they killed 30 of our people in the harbor district." The mathematics were simple and terrible. For every alien they killed, humanity lost more people. Earth was slowly bleeding to death. Meanwhile, hacker Dong-hyun Shin worked in a hidden computer facility, trying to disrupt alien communications. He had learned to break into their computer systems, but it was difficult work. The aliens used technology that was very different from human computers. "I'm getting reports that they're moving something big toward Earth," he told President Kim, over a secure radio link. "The energy readings are enormous." Kim felt her heart sink. She knew what those energy readings meant. The aliens were bringing their ultimate weapons, the ones that could crack planets apart like eggs. In her laboratory, Dr. Jin A. Nam worked frantically on humanity's final desperate plan. For months, she had been developing a special kind of virus, not one that attacked bodies, but one that attacked computer systems. Specifically, it attacked the systems that controlled the Harmony Protocol in alien brains. "If this works," she explained to scientist Chang Min-baek, "it will reverse the brain modifications that make all the aliens think the same way. They'll become individuals again." "And if it doesn't work?" Beck asked. "Then we all die anyway, so it won't matter." Beck nodded grimly. He had been working on the delivery system for Nam's virus. Special missiles that could travel through space in ways that alien sensors couldn't detect. The missiles used quantum tunneling technology that made them almost impossible to stop. "How many missiles do we have?" Nam asked. 300, Beck replied. "Each one can reach a different part of the galaxy. If your virus works, it will spread through their communication networks to every alien world." President Kim made the hardest decision of her life. She ordered Phoenix Station to launch immediately before the planet-killer weapons arrived. She also gave the order to fire all of humanity's quantum tunneling missiles at once. Captain Bo-Ram Lee felt her ship shake as Phoenix Station's massive engines ignited. Through the windows, she watched Earth grow smaller behind them. The planet looked peaceful from this distance, but she knew that millions of people down there were still fighting and dying. "Captain," one of her officers said, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." President Kim's voice came through the speakers. "Phoenix Station, you carry our hopes and our future. Find a good world somewhere far from here. Build a new home. For humanity, remember us, but don't try to come back. Make sure our species survives." "Understood, Madam President," Captain Lee replied. "We'll make you proud." As Phoenix Station flew away into deep space, the quantum tunneling missiles launched from hidden sites all over Earth. The missiles disappeared into quantum space, where they could travel faster than light and couldn't be detected by normal sensors. Supreme Admiral Cortez watched his planet-killer weapons approach Earth. Each weapon was the size of a large asteroid and contained enough destructive power to split continents. He felt satisfied that the human problem would finally be solved. "Deploy the weapons," he ordered. "Target the major population centers first." But before the planet killers could fire, something strange began happening throughout the alien fleet. Computer systems started acting oddly. Navigation screens flickered. Communication devices made strange noises. Dr. Nam's virus had arrived. The virus spread through the alien computer networks like water flowing downhill. It was designed to look like a normal system update, so the alien computers accepted it automatically. Once inside their systems, It began rewriting the code that controlled the Harmony Protocol implants in alien brains. Across the fleet, alien beings began experiencing something they hadn't felt for thousands of years: individual thoughts. On the flagship, Supreme Admiral Corthus suddenly stopped giving orders. He stood perfectly still for several minutes, his large black eyes blinking rapidly. Then he looked around the bridge as if seeing it for the first time. "What? What am I doing?" he asked in confusion. His staff officers were experiencing the same thing. For the first time in their lives, they were thinking their own thoughts instead of following programmed responses. "Sir," one of them said slowly, "why are we trying to destroy this planet? These humans, they haven't actually hurt us." Corthus looked at the tactical display showing Earth surrounded by his massive fleet. Suddenly, the whole war seemed pointless and cruel. "Cancel the planet killer attack," he ordered. "All ships, cease fire immediately." The same thing was happening on alien ships throughout the galaxy. Beings who had been mindless drones for centuries were suddenly awakening to individual consciousness. They began asking questions they had never thought to ask before. Why were they fighting? Who had told them to hate humans? What had they become on Earth? President Kim received reports that the alien attacks had stopped. Enemy ships were just floating in space, not moving. Ground forces had stopped advancing and seemed confused. "What's happening up there?" General Lee asked. "I think," Kim said with wonder in her voice, "Dr. Nam's virus is working. The aliens are remembering how to think for themselves. The war wasn't over yet. Many aliens were angry and confused by their sudden awakening. But for the first time since the siege began, Kim felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. In the depths of space, Phoenix Station continued its journey to the stars, carrying humanity's future toward an unknown destiny. Captain Lee watched the navigation displays and wondered what kind of galaxy her people would find when they arrived at their new home. Behind them, Earth burned with the fires of war. But maybe, just maybe, those fires had lit something new in the galaxy. The return of free thought and individual choice to a billion worlds that had forgotten what it meant to be truly alive. The change began small, like a whisper spreading through the alien fleet. On the bridge of his flagship, Supreme Admiral Corthus stared at his reflection in a dark screen. For the first time in his long life, he was truly seeing himself. His skin was gray and pale. His eyes were too large and completely black. His body was thin and weak. But the most shocking thing was what he felt inside his mind. For thousands of years, his thoughts had followed the same patterns, the same responses, the same perfect coordination with every other member of his species. Now, chaos filled his head, random ideas, personal feelings, questions that had no programmed answers. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, "what are your orders?" Corthus looked at the younger alien officer. He too seemed confused and lost. I don't know," Corthus admitted. "For the first time in my life, I don't know what to do." Across the fleet, similar conversations were happening on every ship. Alien beings who had never made a personal choice were suddenly faced with the most important decision in galactic history: what to do about Earth. On the planet below, President Kim stood in her underground bunker, listening to reports from around the world. The alien attacks had stopped completely. Enemy troops on the ground were sitting down and refusing to fight. Many were trying to communicate with human soldiers, asking questions about freedom and choice. They want to know what it feels like to be human, General Lee reported with amazement in his voice. Their ground commander is requesting a meeting. He says he wants to understand why we fought so hard. Kim nodded slowly. Set up the meeting, but keep our weapons ready. This might be a trick. The meeting took place in the ruins of what had once been the United Nations building in New York. Kim arrived with a small group of advisors, including Dr. Jin-A Nam and Admiral So-Young Choi. The alien delegation was led by Ground Commander Zektar, whose gray skin was marked with scars from the recent fighting. When the two groups faced each other across a broken table, there was a long moment of silence. Then Commander Zektar spoke in halting English. We have done terrible things, he said. But we didn't know we were doing them. The thoughts in our heads were not our own thoughts. What changed? President Kim asked. Your virus, Doctor. Nam answered before the alien could speak. It broke the programming in their brains. They're thinking for themselves for the first time in thousands of years. Commander Zektar nodded sadly. We destroyed so many worlds, so many species. We thought we were bringing peace, but we were bringing death. We became death. What do you want from us now? Admiral Choi asked suspiciously. We want to learn, Zektar replied. We want to understand how to live as individuals instead of as parts of a machine. We want to know what we lost when we accepted the Harmony Protocol. The negotiations lasted for 3 days. During that time, more reports arrived from across the galaxy. The virus had spread to every world in the Galactic Confederation. Billions of beings were waking up to individual consciousness for the first time in their lives. Some were angry about what they had lost. Some were afraid of thinking for themselves, but most were simply confused and looking for guidance. Meanwhile, in deep space, Phoenix Station continued its journey away from Earth. Captain Boram Lee received regular updates about the situation back home through quantum communication links. Should we turn around? Asked her second officer. It sounds like the war might be over. No, Captain Lee replied firmly. Our mission is to ensure humanity's survival. Even if Earth makes peace with the aliens, we need to establish a backup colony somewhere safe. Phoenix Station carried genetic samples, cultural archives, and the knowledge needed to rebuild human civilization from scratch. If something went wrong back at Earth, these 50,000 colonists would be humanity's only hope. 3 months after the virus had awakened the galaxy, Earth hosted the first Galactic Assembly of Free Peoples. Representatives from hundreds of worlds came to Earth to discuss what kind of galaxy they wanted to build. Captain Wu Jin Song, now promoted to ambassador, led the human delegation. He had survived the entire war and become something of a legend among both humans and aliens. His unpredictable fighting tactics had taught the galaxy that creativity and chaos could be more powerful than perfect coordination. We gather here, not as conquerors and conquered, Song told the assembly, but as beings who have all learned the value of individual thought and choice. Supreme Admiral Corthes, now calling himself simply Corthes, spoke for the former Confederation species. We came here to destroy you because you represented everything we had given up. Your chaos, your creativity, your refusal to conform. These things terrified us because they reminded us of what we used to be. What did your species lose when you accepted the Harmony Protocol? Dr. Nam asked. Everything, Corthes replied, quietly. Art, music, literature, individual love, personal dreams. We became perfect and efficient, but we stopped being truly alive. We were zombies who didn't know we were dead. The assembly worked for weeks to create new agreements between species. The most important rule was simple. No species could force another to give up its individual nature. The right to think freely was declared the most basic right in the galaxy. But the real test came when they encountered species that had never been touched by the Confederation. Captain Song led a joint mission to contact the Helix Nebula colonies, where several primitive civilizations lived. When the mixed human-alien fleet arrived, the local beings were terrified. They expected conquest and enslavement, just as the Confederation had done for thousands of years. Instead, Song and his crew offered technology, knowledge, and friendship, but with no strings attached. Each species was free to accept or reject what they offered. This is how first contact should work, Song explained to his mixed crew of humans and awakened aliens. We share what we can, we learn from each other, but we never force anyone to change who they are. Years passed. Phoenix Station found a suitable world in the Andromeda Galaxy and established a thriving colony. They named their new planet New Earth and sent regular messages back to the home system. Back on Earth, the planet slowly healed from the war. Cities were rebuilt, but they were different now, designed by humans and aliens working together, combining the best ideas from many different cultures. Dr. Nam established the Galactic Institute for Genetic Diversity, working to restore the natural genetic variation that had been eliminated from many species by the Harmony Protocol. It was slow work that would take generations, but progress was being made. Captain Lee, now an old woman, stood on the observation deck of Phoenix Station, looking out at the stars of Andromeda. Her colony had grown to over 1 million people, including children who had been born among the stars and had never seen Earth. "Captain," one of her officers said, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's Ambassador Song." Song's familiar face appeared on the communication screen. He was older, now with gray hair, but his eyes still held the same spark of creativity that had helped win the war. "Boram," he said, "I have news. The Galactic Assembly has voted to create a new organization called the League of Free Worlds. Every species gets to decide for itself how to live, what to believe, and what kind of society to build." "That sounds wonderful," Captain Lee replied. "How many species have joined?" "Over 2,000 so far, and more every month. Species that were enslaved by the old Confederation are rediscovering their own cultures. New art forms are being created. Individual expressions of creativity are flourishing everywhere," Lee smiled. "And what about the humans back on Earth?" "We're doing what humans do best," Song replied with a grin. "We're causing creative chaos wherever we go. We're teaching alien species how to argue with each other, how to disagree constructively, how to compete without destroying each other. The galaxy wanted to destroy us for being different," Lee said thoughtfully. "Instead, we taught them that being different is what makes life worth living." Song nodded. "The extinction order they gave us backfired completely. Instead of eliminating humanity, they awakened something in themselves that had been sleeping for thousands of years. They rediscovered their own humanity." The conversation ended, but Captain Lee continued to stare out at the stars. Somewhere, out there in both the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies, trillions of beings were learning how to think for themselves, how to create, how to dream individual dreams. The galaxy had given humanity an extinction order, demanding that they submit or die. Instead, humanity had given the galaxy something much more valuable: the fire of free thought, the chaos of creativity, and the wild beauty of individual choice. In the end, The war hadn't been won with weapons or superior tactics. It had been won by proving that freedom was contagious, that once beings tasted true liberty, they would never willingly give it up again. The fire that Earth had answered with wasn't the fire of destruction. It was the fire of life itself, messy, unpredictable, chaotic, and absolutely necessary for any species that wanted to be truly alive. And now that fire burned on 1,000 worlds in 1,000,000 different ways, as unique and individual as the beings who carried it. The galaxy had tried to snuff out humanity's flame. Instead, they had learned to kindle their own fires and light up the darkness of space with the warm glow of freedom.